I had a conversation with someone recently, and they said in order to live your life in the most ideal way, with the most genetic fitness, you should have a family, have a few children, not take too many risks, not experience too much pain, not experience too much struggle, and that's the ideal way to live. And if you want to be a great man, if you want to be great, you have to uh, you have to sort of trick yourself. You have to trick yourself into being great because evolution, Darwinism, genetic fitness just wants you to have a few children and take it easy. And I think that's interesting because it goes into a key critique that Nietzsche had of Darwin. He said that Darwin tried to smuggle religion into science with the whole idea of survival of the fittest and genetic fitness. Nietzsche said that what organisms want is the will to power. They don't want to just survive. They want to thrive. They want to be the most powerful. Okay? And I think that this is actually correct. And I think that Darwin's rules, while they are true, are framed incorrectly. And I'll explain why. So think about Genghis Khan. Genghis Khan, I looked it up, in the former Mongol lands, uh, is in the lineage for 8% of people. His DNA shows up in 8% of men in the former Mongol Empire. He has had an outsized impact on genetically on the population because of how great he was. Because he conquered, he had tons of children, and he was undoubtedly a great man. And if you think about it, if Genghis Khan is taking up 8%, then where are all those peasants that he probably killed on the way? Where are they? They're dead, and they have not survived to the modern age. There is an outsized impact of the nobility, of the royalty. Like, how many people have you met that they say, oh, my great grandfather was a noble, was a royal, and they have all these like great ancestors. Now, on the one hand, we're all related, so that's one part of it. But the other part of it is that it is actually the nobility, the royalty in our past times and in our future times, which will make up the majority of the new population. It is not the peasant class. It is not the comfortable class who does this. And I think that the greatest example of this that you can see is out of Africa, when humans left Africa, right? When humans left Africa, they conquered the entire world. It is the people who left who went and conquered the whole world. They became the South Americans, the Incans, the Aztecs, the North American native population. They became the Chinese, the Japanese, the East Asians, the South Asians, the Turkic people, the people of the steppe, and of course the European people, and all the people, the Scythians, the Romans, all of those people who went, they conquered the world, they industrialized everything. And uh, the original population of Africa has had significant, back migrations since then, because it was a small number of great men who left Africa, who made the entire world as we see it today, and then over time there was back migrations, and they came back in, and the population of Africa like significantly changed because it was the people who dared to risk it, to conquer, okay, who made up the next generation. And another thing about Darwin is that one day this earth will die, okay, probably sooner rather than later. And it will not be the uncountable, quadrillions, quintillions, I don't even know what number is correct, of how many little microorganisms are on the planet who will escape the planet, okay? It is not these, genetically fit one cell organisms who just have been reproducing for billions of years, and they have tons of themselves. They probably make up more biomass than all of humanity. A lot of these different little tribes of single-celled organisms, okay? But they will not be on the space shuttle. Maybe one of them will, maybe two, maybe a few of them will, but the 99.99999% of them will not be on the space shuttle when we are evacuating Earth because the comet is arriving, okay? They will not survive in Mars. They will not survive in space. Okay, they're done. They're done for, and they are genetically fit, yes, but they will not make up the future of our universe. When humanity conquers the universe, when there's an empire of man and everything's conquered, they will only be on Holy Terra. Okay, they will not be everywhere else, and uh, that's the thing about evolution, right? It's evolution. It's a little gradual, and then it takes big leaps. Okay, there's big leaps. There's that moment when the cell ate the mitochondria. Okay, there's the moment when things became, yeah, multicellular. There's there's been huge leaps. There's been, the evolution of, I don't know, like lungs. Okay, it's the huge leaps in evolution which have occurred, and it's greatness. It is the ability of that species to go and to seek out new things, which has paved the way for the future. Okay, so when people say, "Oh, well, to be genetically fit, I should just try and be comfortable," this is incorrect. Okay, it is the people who climb the mountain that survive, because one day the valley will flood and they will all be dead because they are used to being comfortable living in the valley with their fruits, with their farms, and they will flood and they will die. They cannot survive in the mountain. It is the mountain people, and this is just true all of history. It is the mountain people that when the people of the valley are massacred by an invading force, the mountain people wait up in their mountains, they're strong, and then they come down and they replenish the population, and then slowly but surely the people of the valley grow weak again and they are wiped out again. And then the mountain people, the people who of the valley who climbed back up and came back down, those are the people who make up the next generation. It is the greatest people of this generation who will make up the standard a few generations into the future. Okay, so it is the ability to take risk. It is the will to power. It is the aspiration for greatness, which is the fundamental driving force of your feelings. It's the fundamental driving force of evolution, really, because evolution is just it's a construct over the idea of entropy. But really, like the fundamentally, it's the will to power, right? Genetic fitness is not something which you're not evolved to maximize being mediocre, because the mediocre people can be successful for quite a long streak of time and then suddenly they're all dead. While the great people, they risk it. Some of them do really well, some of them do really poorly, but they push forward into the future. I mean, how many apes exist on this planet? They're very mediocre. They never bothered to go around the world. They never started walking around everywhere. They didn't start their long distance hunting. They're just comfortable in the trees. And these apes, where are they today? They're dead. Okay, the apes are dead. There are, I don't know how many apes exactly, like thousands of apes left. Are there even a million apes in the world today? There's 8 billion of us. But one day, 99.99% of us will be dead, and it will be the smartest of us who will be alive in the future. So I think Nietzsche was completely right when he said that Darwin was trying to smuggle religion into science, because it is actually your imperative, especially as a guy. It is your imperative to be great. It is not a moral imperative, to be comfortable. In fact, that has led very poorly for every past tribe in history who has tried being comfortable. They're all dead now. They're all dead. Okay, maybe the Aztecs were very comfortable. They were, doing their sacrifices, having the tribes under their sort of spell, sacrificing to whatever god. And they had, I'm pretty sure, almost the biggest or second biggest city in the world, up until the point that the Spanish came along with guns and steel, and cannons, and just wiped them off the face of the planet. Now, disease did help, but I mean, maybe if they had steel and guns, they could have handled being sick, right? But they didn't, because they were too comfortable, right? They were too comfortable, and the Spanish weren't comfortable, were they? I mean, they just finished the Reconquista. All of Spain was a battleground for like 500 years. Before that, the Roman Empire falling. Spain had seen a lot of of bloodshed, and a lot of people had risked it and died. And then so they were able to go and make this great empire. But the empire that was sitting there decaying, that was comfortable, that vanished away. So I believe that actually, for most people who are fit in the truest sense of the world of the word, they are fit for the will to power. They are the ones who your feelings stem from. Their feelings guide you towards the will to power to be great. They do not guide you merely to hang on, merely to, to be like a sort of sniveling peasant and just hang on to the boat as it's like leaving the station. Like eventually you're going to fall off, right? So it's the people who are driving the boat, who are steering the boat, who will survive. So yeah, I think that my point was made here. It's your feelings do not guide you towards being mediocre. For the majority of us, because we are descendant from so many great conquerors, our feelings drive us to conquer, and we should accept that. We should not delude ourselves into believing that our feelings drive us to be mediocre. Because, I mean, if someone believes that, maybe it's true, but you shouldn't believe that because it's not true. So, yeah, you should be great. You should strive for the will to power. You should not strive to simply pass on your lineage like that, in this pathetic way. Oh, maybe I'll have 3 children. Oh, great job, right? You have to have 500, okay, and you have to risk it all. That's what you have to do. That's what pushes humanity upwards, and that's what all of us should be aiming towards. I believe that's moral. That's what we should all be doing. We should all be taking great risks to be the absolute best. We should never try and sort of humble ourselves and belittle ourselves to be genetically fit. That's kind of it's smuggling in this sort of like meek concept into science, which you know I think you can see there's no evidence for that. So yeah, that's all.